main compartment. Okay. Well, you can see all that. Okay, so first aid kit. This isn't a real advanced IFAC or emergency first aid kit that the military would issue you. This is more of a boo-boo kit, so that's what I call it. It does have your basic painkillers. I do have a tourniquet on there because I had a tourniquet and I figured it wouldn't hurt to have it there, easily accessible, highly visible as soon as you open the compartment. And then I just have, like I said, basic things in here that you need. A couple little things that are important. I do have a couple disposable thermometers, some chapsticks, some antacid, painkillers. Put some more water purification tablets in there just so it's easy to find. A little bit of a, pain and itch relief, painkiller. Some of this stuff is really cool, I think, is just some black athletic tape. You can use that if you had to build a splint and just wrap your arm. Plus it's black, people, it's not going to be as visible as a white bandage. If you had any kind of, major injuries, you can stuff it with this and then wrap it with the black until you're able to get to a better place. Some triple antibiotic ointment. You got any blisters or anything like that might be getting infected, keep that kind of stuff on them. Another thing that people don't think about that is something you can get that they actually use in ERs is super glue. So you can use that in little stitches or a lot of cuts, and that's a very common practice. But it's not going to cost $500 like it does in an emergency room. Okay, next thing I want to talk about, also very, very useful. The more uses something has, the more valuable it is. A knife can be used for all kinds of things. It can be used to build a shelter, it can be used to build a fire, it can be used to clean an animal or process some meat or whatever. It can also be used as a weapon. So that's why I think a knife is so important. More important than maybe a hatchet or a camp saw or something. As long as you get a good bushcraft knife, which I'll get into that in a moment. That's in the next bag here. But this is a multi-use, excellent piece of gear because it's just a regular GI rain poncho, military issue type thing. This one's multicam. You can use it for all kinds of things, everything from a shelter, a rain shelter. You can obviously use it to camouflage yourself. I could take this whole thing out. It's got a hood on it, so I could put the hood through my head through the hood, and I could drape it over my bag and my whole body, and then my whole body would be camouflaged. And I don't have to carry a bunch of stuff. Of course, it's not going to be really comfortable, and it's mostly made for rainy environments and to keep you dry in the rain, which is the one thing it doesn't really do. But you could use it to carry. You could use it as an emergency stretcher if you had to carry someone. There's a lot of other uses that I'll put on there when I discuss the product. Some other things I'm forgetting, but similar to the ESC, it has a lot of uses for something heavy-duty, flat, large material like that. Now, little bungee cords, tactical bungees. Things are great. All this cordage that I talk about is great, but you got to be able to tie knots and tighten them and do things like that. And you got to know how to do those things. I do talk about how to tie knots on the emergency survival chart, but you're still gonna have to practice with it until you know how to do it. These things don't require anything. I mean, you have a couple grommets. I'm thinking about putting grommets on the emergency survival chart, but it would just be right there in the corner, and you could set up a shelter in less than a minute. Same thing with the poncho liner that I showed you, or excuse me, the poncho, the rain poncho. You hook that, go around a tree with some little elastic, bungees, and very quick and easy way to set up a shelter. Another thing is your sleeping kit. This is so small that I think it's a good option, but the emergency blanket would work just fine. And to be honest, in an environment like this, where I am right now, it's warm enough, and we're starting to head into summer that you really wouldn't need a lot of sleeping gear, and I would probably load up more on some extra water. Of course, we don't really need that right now either, but it'll be really dry here in a couple months, and this will probably be dried up. So, okay, like I said, an emergency sleeping bag. This one's made by Titan. Titan Survival. They make some really good stuff. And I believe it's Mylar. Same thing, camouflage type of thing. And it's reusable. So, get a little bag, sleeping bag like that. Pretty cool. Extra clothing. Okay, I got an extra pair of pants there. They actually zip down the legs so I can take the legs off and make them into shorts. I sort of just took them, put them in regular Ziploc bags, and I squeezed them on the bed and kind of give them a little vacuum seal to get out some of the air, and they seal pretty tight. Polypropylene, I always recommend having some polypropylene. It will keep you dry no matter what. You never know if you're going to get wet and get chilled, and you have cotton. Cotton kills, is what they say. So if you're wearing cotton for too long, it's just going to suck the heat out of you if it's wet. Polypropylene, on the other hand, will keep you warm anyway and insulate. And the other thing, silk will do the same thing, and wool. That I wouldn't recommend wearing wool directly against your skin. Some wool blend socks, some merino wool, or some just different synthetics, or there's some excellent stuff out there too. But I always stick with the polypropylene, and the wool and the silk is my personal preferences. Okay. Food source. This stuff's excellent. I think they've relabeled it now. They got a little better looking bottle, but this is a 15-day food supply. So I can't tell you how valuable that is in this tiny little package. You got the little bag that comes with it, so if you want to transfer these pills into the bag and stuff them in a pocket, you could do that. But you would also have this bottle that you could use for carrying water or whatever, which could be a real important thing. You never know when you're going to come across water again if you're trying to travel a long distance on foot. And a lot of times your plan is just going to be to get from one water source to the next water source along your way, so you can resupply. So 1 or 2 of these in your kit, food's taken care of. However, I do have another kit that I'm going to show you is another option for food, and probably better for a long term because as good as this is, it's still only going to last you, a month tops. So anything else you have, or especially boiling water, that's going to be in this other kit. So I might as well get right into this. This is basically I call it my mess kit or whatever, but this one's stuffed with food. So I have another easily a few days worth of food on here. This is way more food than I would need for 72 hours. Typically, to be honest, you don't really need any food for 72 hours. But I figure some of you guys probably want to have food, so you can get these little things, these little packets at the store. They're, you're gonna have food, whatever you want. Some more fire starter, another lighter. Just keeping that stuff on the outer pocket. And then I go in here. This is just something that's kind of cool. It's a little lantern with a beeswax candle, and you can hang that in a tent or whatever if you wanted to, and light that. And that thing will last for 8 hours. So if you needed a candle, and you could actually have a retina. You can read by it and stuff like that if you needed to. Of course, it wouldn't be recommended if you're in an environment where you're trying to keep from being detected. But for just your normal everyday usage, it's kind of a cool little piece of kit to have, and I've liked it. The 32-ounce bottle. Now I did a whole other video on this, so I'm not going to get into all this stuff, but one thing I did do here is I got these little rice servings, okay? So I think this is 2 servings of rice, but so all I would need to do is grab this little bag here, and one of these, and that's my 32 ounces. And that's the perfect ratio for the rice to the water, and really easy to cook on this with the stove that comes with the kit. So there you go. You got your container, and you put the rice and stuff in, and then you have your little rocket stove, which is not as fancy as it sounds. It's just a really cool design. You can actually make these in nature as well, but all they are is You know, you could do this with a can. If you had a can of beans or something, you could just cut the bottom of it out like this and poke some holes in the top of it, and then you could just stuff leaves and stuff inside here, and it'll burn. The flame will build a really nice high flame because it keeps all that heat confined in a small little area. It gets super hot, and there's enough air going in there that it just blows right through. And rocket stove, that's what I call them. Okay, so that's pretty much my little mess kit. I'm going to go into the little survival kit, which this is basically got my ESCs in, another ESC for the other area. This is the kind of kit that you could have in your backpack or whatever without any of the other stuff. You could technically survive with just this small little kit. But you won't have a water container, so you'd have to be near a source of water like this, and this would require you to actually get down and put your face down there in the water. And everybody knows about a life straw. It's still a great product, but it doesn't compare to this, in my opinion. Okay, the other thing, like I said, the knife. I talked about this in another video as well. It looks kind of crappy, but it's actually been coated with some beeswax to keep it from rusting. So that's why it looks as bad as it does. Fire starter, sharpener. The other thing I like about it is a very small knife, but it's very, you could chop down a tree with it. It's an excellent knife. You gotta have something to write all your information down on, whatever it's going to be, your emergency frequencies, coordinates, call signs, anything you need. You're going to need a little waterproof field book to write this stuff in. It has all kinds of conversions and things on it. Highly recommended. Everybody in the military knows about these. Ride in rain, all-weather, tactical notebook. I have some more cordage. This one is a Titan Survivor cord, which I talk about at length in other areas. And I'll speak about it again right here because it's not 550 cord, it's actually 620 cord, which means it's rated to hold 620 pounds. But the other thing that's cool about it is it has 25-pound fishing line inside of it. It has copper wire, and it has some wax jute for starting fires. So if you didn't have any dry tinder, you could use that. But the important thing to me is the copper wire, and I'll get into that in a moment when I talk a little bit more about communications equipment. You also have your fire striker. This is just a little bracelet that you can wear. So I have more of this in other spots inside the bag as well, but this is all something you'd be in your emergency survival kit. The other thing this is what I recommended earlier with the chem light, so you can adjust it. Compasses. Now, when I was in the Navy, we used the excellent compass, Silver Ranger. Okay, I haven't found another compass that I really like after using this. A lot of the compasses I get, they don't have the right scales for what I need. This one will cover the scales for the maps that I showed you earlier from Nat Geo. It'll also cover the scales for this, for the emergency survival chart, and the intermediate scale, 1 to 25,000 maps, and 1 to 24,000 maps. It also has those scales on here as well. So I just don't know a better compass. I thought maybe there were a couple others that were really American-made, Brunton, but I'm not sure that they actually make the scales that I need. So I don't know whether I could recommend them